We are live. We are live. I'm just waiting for people to show up. This is always the awkward part about going live because there is always a replay that happens during the live. And in the replay, there's this awkward moment where you're sitting around waiting for people to show up. So when people show up, it's great because you have an audience. But when it's a replay, it's kind of awkward because you're sitting there, not really talking to anybody. And the replay is going, what are you going to do today? Hopefully you're going to do something exciting, which I am. So if you are watching the replay, you can give me a hashtag replay. Right now, at this moment in time on Thursday, 3 o'clock Mountain Daylight Time, we are live. If you're watching at any other time, you are watching the replay. So give me a hashtag replay in the comments. For those of you who have not joined my live before, you might notice that I am shifting my focus every once in a while, and that's because I'm on two devices. I have a live streaming platform on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, and then I have Instagram. They don't allow the live stream platform, so they're separate on my second device. And look at that. I have a comment already. Nickie says hello. So if you're just joining me, and hello, Nickie. So if you're just joining me, I would love to get a little hello or comment, and in the comment below, you can put where you're from, and I will, I'll share that with everybody. Now I see that on Instagram, I have Cindy. Hi, Cindy. Thanks for joining. And on my other platforms, I have Nickie right now. So I'm just going to give it a few more minutes before I dive into the topic. Hi. Okay, so we have a few of you already, and I'm just going to walk through exactly what we are talking about today. Today is all about onboarding and onboarding strategies. Now, back when, oh my goodness, now I'm going to date myself, back over 22 years ago when we did onboarding. I don't even think that was a term then. We just called it orientation, and it was usually either a 1 hour or a half a day, sit down, go over the policies, and then send people on their way. And that's all that it was. Now we're a lot more evolved, and there's a lot more involved in bringing somebody on board. So we talk a little bit more about that now. Before I get started into that, though, if you're joining us now, or if you are watching the replay, I'd love to hear where you're watching from in the comments of whichever platform you are watching from. So if you can just let me know where you're from, I would love that. And I'd also like to talk a little bit about the program that I'm starting up on November 23rd. It is called the Complete HR Blueprint, and it can be found on my company website at keyhr.ca. That's KIYHR.ca /the Complete HR Blueprint with dashes in between. This onboarding process that I'm going to be talking about today is also something that I talk about in the Complete HR Blueprint. So if this is something that you're interested in, if you're a non-HR professional or a junior HR professional, and you work in HR and you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed, you'd like to gain confidence, you'd like to gain knowledge on all things human resources, and you would love to be a part of a support community, go to the Key HR website, KIYHR.ca, and look up the HR blueprint. And as I mentioned, it's just going to be on the ticker below the screen on the Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter Live. For Instagram, I will post it with the in the comments with this video at the end of the video, and you can click on there. You can also go to the bio in my profile, and you can click on my link tree, and it'll take you to the complete HR blueprint. And that goes for everybody who's watching on all streaming devices. Okay, so if you're just joining us now, if you want to leave me a comment on where you're joining from, that would be awesome, and I will share that on the comments. And let's just get started. So, as I mentioned earlier, we are talking today about onboarding. And onboarding is an entire process. The orientation used to be just a very small portion of onboarding. We never even used to have onboarding. We didn't even call it onboarding. It was just a quick orientation where a new hire would come in, you'd get them to fill out a bunch of forms, you'd open up your big company manual, you'd go through all the policies that were very important in the history of the company, and then you would send the individual off for the rest of the time. Now we have a complete process on bringing an employee on board, and we're going to get talking about that. All right, so what do you do? What's the very first thing you do with onboarding? The first thing you want to do when you are onboarding is start before they start. And what exactly does that mean? Before their first day, you want to get prepared. You want to start onboarding them before they even show up. You want to have a welcome package for them. You can send that to them after they sign the offer letter and they give it to you. You can send them the welcome package. You don't have to wait for the first day. You can send them all the forms that they need to complete. Everything happens electronically these days. It's super easy. Get them to complete all the forms and have them show up with those forms on the first day so that they're not sitting there completing forms. And then if they have any questions or if they've completed a form incorrectly, you can deal with it the morning that they show up. You can also send them a really nice welcome letter, and some people even send a nice welcome video to really give them the feel of the culture that they're going to be entering. So that is the very first thing that you're going to do. Also, in your welcome letter, you want to tell them about parking. Where are they going to be parking? Is there a lunchroom? Is there enough room for them to bring a lunch? Is there a fridge? Is there a stove? What are there utensils? Are there restaurants close by? What is available to them so they are 100% prepared when they come in? Let them know everything that they need to expect. I mean, they can do a lot of research, but there are things inside the company that are happening that they wouldn't know about if they didn't. Oh, we've got a couple of comments here. Let's see what they are. Shelley. Hi, Shelley from Bradcan. Very nice to see you. Thanks for joining. And Nickie says she is from Leduc. Well, hello, Nickie from Leduc, and she's on Facebook. So we've got a couple people here who are joining us from YouTube and Facebook. And I do want to mention also that if you did join in just recently, I am streaming off to two different devices. So you'll see me kind of shifting my focus back and forth to the different cameras. So I apologize if that gets a little bit annoying from time to time. Okay, let's continue on with onboarding. So as I mentioned, in the very first thing you need to do is start before they start. Really give them a good welcome before they come on board. Make them feel like they are There, Nickie, I'll take your I'll take your comment off there. Really make them feel like they know what to expect when they come on board, and get everything out of the way. If you need to get a criminal record check or a driver's abstract or any of those things, try to do those ahead of time instead of doing them rushing to try and do them when they first start. Get all of that stuff done before you even come on board. And the second thing you want to do is create a plan before they come on board, and actually before you even start hiring anybody. What you want to do is you want to have a plan in place. You want to make sure that you have a process so it's consistent. Every time you have a new hire, you have a process. And one of the processes that you should always have is a checklist of what is going to happen next and who's going to see the new hire next, and how long is that going to take, and when is the next thing going to happen. So in your checklist, you also want to ensure that you have all the essential documents that they need. So any payroll information, make sure that they brought in their offer letter, make sure that they brought in their employment agreement. All of those things they definitely should be, you should be checking, and you should use your checklist to make sure that they brought all that information in. And then schedule meetings with different individuals within the organization. Schedule a meeting with the payroll person so that all the payroll information is properly filled out, because it's not always properly filled out. This might be the first time an employee has ever seen a TD1 form. This might be the first time an employee has ever seen there are different forms for different countries, but any kind of payroll information, this might be the first time they've ever experienced this. Or maybe it's been 10 years since they've looked at one. Maybe it's changed over time. So make sure that you schedule a certain period of time to sit down with the payroll individual. And safety, make sure that you sit down and schedule time with the safety supervisors or whoever is responsible for safety, and that they go over the essential parts of safety for your organization. Make sure that you have scheduled a tour and the tour should be one of the very first things that happens when they come into the organization. You should be walking them around and giving them a tour. And you should also be giving them introductions to as many people as you can. If you have a shop floor, bring them to the shop floor, walk them around, regardless of whether they're an office employee or not. And same goes the opposite way. If they're a shop floor employee or they're working out in the field, make sure that you bring them around the office to meet them. So create that plan. And this is really, really, really important. Try not to squish it all into one day. This is a huge issue that happens all the time. Squishing the orientation into one day can create so many problems. It creates overwhelm. The employee goes home and they're exhausted and they don't even remember what they learned. Spread it out. Figure out what is the first very most important thing that should be addressed on the first day. Payroll may not have to be addressed on the very first day. Sometimes payroll doesn't happen for a week or two after the employee has started. So to get all that information in, it may not be an essential thing on the first day. Introductions, in my opinion, are definitely one of the very first things that should happen, because that is setting the stage for a good culture, to know people, to know who you're working with. That is super, super important. And meeting the supervisor, that should always happen right away. And the supervisor shouldn't just talk about what they expect the individual should to be doing in their role, the supervisor should also be talking about the company's values and the culture and the vision. And they should be embodying that and really showing pride in what the company has to offer. This is really important. If the supervisor isn't buying into it, how is the employee going to buy into it? So that's an important piece of creating a plan and setting it up. And each individual that is going to be meeting with whomever, whether it's the person dealing with payroll, the person dealing with safety, the supervisor, any introduction, make sure that they are aware that they're part of the plan. Oh, and let me back it up just a little bit. When an employee signs on the dotted line for the offer letter or the employment agreement or whatever you call it in your company, when they sign on the dotted line, everyone in the company should know that this person is coming on board. They should know their name. They should know the department they're going to be working in, the position that they're going to hold. All of that needs to be addressed before that person's on board, so that when that person comes on board, everybody already knows. And then that person feels so much more welcome. The culture that you're creating is just this welcoming and warm environment. And even, actually, I'm following a lady on Instagram that is also an HR expert. And she says, have a buddy system. Put somebody else with the new hire to bring them around, eat lunch with them, show them around, especially in a small organization where maybe you don't have an HR professional who can do all of that. See if you can assign somebody who's personable, who's not shy, to do those kind of things. All right. Number 3, check in regularly. This, for some reason, when we bring somebody on board, we do all the necessary things that we need to do, and we send them off with their supervisor. Their supervisor does all the things that they need to do, and then the person's ready to start working. And whether they're an expert in their field or they're new to the job and they have maybe a training process that they're a part of and they're learning as they go, it doesn't matter what level you are. It is always essential to check in and see how they're doing. Ask them questions. Do you have any questions? How has everything been going? Is there anything that we can get you? Anything at all. Just make sure that you are connecting with that new employee. That is, I don't know why that gets overlooked. I think it's because we all get so busy in our own roles that we kind of forget about that person that just started. I mean, they're in our heads, but we're not making it a point to go and check in on them and see how they're doing. And when I say regularly, I don't mean 10 times a day in the first day that they are hired. I'm talking onboarding lasts from, like I said, the moment that they sign the offer letter for the first 3 months. They are learning over the first 3 months of employment. So check in with them when you can and have others check in with them. Anybody who has, even if they don't have a stake in what the employee is doing, the culture should be in the organization that everybody has everybody's back and everybody should be checking on everyone. Oh my gosh, I've been talking so much. I've got some comments and I didn't even say hi. Here we've got Shantu. Good evening, he says. Oh, I'd love to know where you are watching from. If you are saying good evening, it's only 3 o'clock where I am, so maybe you're somewhere overseas. You are an instrumentation engineer. Well, hello, Shantu25. Very nice to meet you. And that is a great profession to be in. It's very interesting to me. And I've worked with a lot of instrumentation engineers in the past throughout my career in EPC companies that I've worked in. Thank you very much for commenting. And you know what? I'm working on this. It's my second time streaming like this. The device is a little bit, working two devices and working the platform can be a little bit challenging. So I'm sorry if I don't get to your comments right away. But anytime you do have a comment, please put it in there. If you have a question about anything that I'm talking about, I'd love to answer your questions. I'll try to be as, as detailed as possible so that you are learning from this little tutorial. But if I'm not clear, I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. All right, so let's continue on. We've talked about checking in regularly and the buddy system, and checking in to see if there's anything that they need. You know, sometimes it's something as silly as a piece of stationery, and you really have no idea, you know, the new employee has no idea where to even find the stationery. If they didn't get a good tour, or maybe the tour was just a little overwhelming, they might even not know where to find the stationery. So popping your head in every once in a while to say, hey, are you finding everything okay? And like I said, that doesn't have to be one person in particularly who does that. It can be several different people who just pop their head in and say hello. It is such an amazing feeling to know that you're not on an island. And when I say pop my head in, I'm not just talking at an office. I'm talking about, it could be walking over, if you're, you know, on site somewhere, just walking over saying, hey, how's everything going? Or if you're in a shop, walking over to their bay, asking them how they're doing, wherever they are, check in with them. If you're a personable person, you need to take on that job. All right, number 4. So in the first 3 months of the employment and the onboarding, the employee needs to have micro goals set for them. I'm not talking about huge long-term goals that we're looking a year ahead or even 6 months ahead. I'm talking about small, attainable, specific goals within a short time frame to give them something, kind of a step process to get them to where they will succeed. Think of those goals. You could be thinking about setting those goals when you're making the position description for this role, when you're starting the recruitment. You don't have to start it at day 1. Oh, we're going to set your goals. You can have an idea of what you want those goals to be. And then you sit down with that new hire and you go over the goals with them together. All right, let's talk about what we would like you to do over the next 4 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks. No more than 12 weeks though. Like I said, these are micro goals that you're setting that are not overwhelming. You don't want too many of them. Maybe between 3 and 5 goals to give them a good understanding of what is expected of them when they come on board. And I'm not just talking people who've never been in a position before. If maybe this is the first time they're working, I would give this to an executive. The exact same thing. I would give this to every level of any new hire that comes on board with a company. They need to understand what the company is wanting to do, where their vision is, what the company's goals are, and how their personal goals are going to, or individual goals are going to contribute to the entire success of the department and of the company. So set those, and you're going to see a lot of success with morale and retention and engagement from this new employee. Hope I've got you still focused here. And if you are watching the replay, if you're just jumping in now halfway through this video, Give me a hashtag replay. If you have any questions about what I'm talking about, go ahead and ask me in the comments section of this video, and I will be happy to answer your questions, even if it's at replay time. Okay? Alrighty. And the very last one is follow up and feedback. How can we improve if we don't know how the employee's experience was throughout the entire onboarding process? How can we possibly get better? I mean, we have in our head maybe, oh, we made a mistake here. We could adjust that. We can fix this a little bit. We can tweak this. But honestly, the best way you can evolve and make a process better is by getting feedback from the employee. You can have them fill out a questionnaire. You can sit down with them and just have an open conversation and take notes. But the important thing is that you just get that feedback. And that feedback can happen at different stages. After the first week, and then again after 8 weeks, and then again at their 3-month end of their probation with the company. You can sit them down and you can talk about how they reached their goals. You can start working on the performance management side of things and setting goals for the entire year. And at the same time, you can get feedback from them. Super important to do that. I say super important a lot because every aspect that I ever talk about in HR, I don't talk about it unless I feel like it's super important. All of the facets of HR are there for a reason. They're interconnected. And when you have everything working well and you're doing what you need to do for HR and you're following all the functions, all the facets of HR, you're going to have a well-oiled machine that's just going to keep going. The employee life cycle is going to be long. It's going to be full of motivation and excellent culture. You're just going to have so much success. And I know this because I have seen it. I've seen transformations. I've seen transitions. I have seen the success of a fully functioning human resources engine, for lack of a better term. I have witnessed it. I have witnessed companies that have had a broken system, and we've introduced all the facets that they need to fix. We've either re-engineered them, or we've started from scratch, or we've tweaked a few things here and there. And it's amazing to me, and it never fails. It gets better with every single tweak that we do and all of the things that we introduce. And when you're missing one piece, think of it like if you're into cars. If you're missing a wheel, you're not really going to go very well without a wheel. Now, let's say you have all 4 wheels, but the car won't start because the starter's not working. You're not going to go anywhere. All the pieces of a car, spark plug, I don't know, gasoline, if you don't have any fuel, like all of those pieces of a car, they all work together to help it move forward. It's the same with human resources. Every aspect that we talk about in human resources is like a vehicle. We have to treat it that way, but we have to treat it well. People are the backbone of our organizations. So we need to make sure that they are taken care of. And an onboarding process is just as important as everything else that you can think that's connected to human resources. So have a good one. Follow this process. I'll tell you, if you are only having little bits and pieces of this onboarding process that I went through with you today, introduce the rest of these, and you will find success in keeping and motivating an engaged employee. And if you're an employee and you're watching this and your organization doesn't do this, share this with them. Say, this is what we need to do in our organization. We need to have all of these aspects of onboarding in order to get somebody in and get going. So watch my lives every Thursday at 3 o'clock, because they're all going to be full of information like this. They are going to give you tips and tricks on how to have a good, well-oiled HR machine. Okay? And if you want even more, if you're a company who wants even more, make sure you go to my website at keyhr.ca and look up the complete HR blueprint, because it is full of even more than what I'm giving on these short little lives. It is 8 weeks of jam-packed information and lifelong access to community, to me, to consulting. Everything that you need is in this complete HR blueprint. It is, this program is, I'm so excited about it. I love it. And it's starting November 23rd. So if you want to get in on it, you better get a hold of me quick before it fills up. Alrighty. Well, that's it for today. I would love to hear your comments or your questions as you listen to this video, either on replay or as you've been listening today. If you have any questions or comments, let me know. I'd be happy to answer them. I think this worked out really well. It's been a 30-minute live. I often think that these will last longer, that they'll go on for about an hour, but it turns out that really the information that I'm providing is only about an hour long. So that works out for you guys, and it works out for me too. So thank you so much for joining. If you want to continue following me, follow me on any one of my social media platforms. I'm on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on YouTube. I'm under my company name on Twitter, Key HR Services, spelled K-I-Y. Any of those platforms, you're welcome to join and watch, because I'm constantly posting tips and tricks all the time on my social media. Thank you again for joining. Have a fantastic day, and we will see you next Thursday, same time, same place, different topic. Ciao, everybody.